Let me get to the Deion Sanders situation real quick. Some of y'all took issue with my post. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG school. Let me say this. Deion Sanders. I did watch the first half of the game. I turned it off because Colorado was clearly in control of that football game. As I've told you before, I will never forgive Deion for abandoning the HBCU mission. He had the chance of rewriting history on behalf of Black America. He sold it out for a white college and some money. But that's water under the bridge. We can't take it back. Maybe he'll go back to an HBCU sooner than later. We're not here to talk about that. When I reviewed the highlights of the Colorado Buffaloes' stunning defeat to Stanford last night in their comeback win, from a psychological perspective, you know what I saw? I saw the young men of the Colorado football team begin to psychologically check out. They played their hearts out early, but I believe they got exhausted. And I don't think it was a physical exhaustion. I think it was an emotional exhaustion. I'm not making any excuses for the loss or the win. I'm not making any excuses for the loss or for the win. But I'm simply saying that I think Deion and Shedeur, who I think is going to end up making history in both the NCAA and the NFL, that is one heck of a quarterback right there. I pray that he's not bunny hopping. I pray that none of the Sanders sons are bunny hopping. That is my prayer. But good luck with that at a school with only 2% black women. But nonetheless, Umar loved to hate on black men. I'm not hating on anybody. Goodbye. So, I believe that the team, the Colorado Buffaloes, I believe they are getting exhausted and burned out from constantly having to live up to Deion Sanders' reputation. I think they're getting tired and burned out of constantly hearing about Deion and his son, almost to the exclusion of all the other players. All I'm saying is I want Deion because I want him to be successful since he's there. I'm simply saying that I want Deion and Shedeur to back off the self-promotion for a minute and get this team back, because I think a lot of them feel like they're simply being exploited to fulfill the agenda of two individuals. That's what I believe. I think the rest of the team is beginning to give up. And you don't want a situation where they all psychologically check out, just like you drop out of school psychologically. Children psychologically drop out of school before they physically drop out of school. Children psychologically drop out of school before they physically drop out of school. And I'm hoping that the Colorado Buffaloes team isn't beginning to psychologically drop out, because they played so well in the first half. And I don't know what was said during halftime. But I believe that those young men were just exhausted. Not just from the game, not just from Stanford's comeback, but exhausted because they are the center of the sports world, but they don't have the chess pieces yet to live up to the hype. Yes, they've already won more games than they did last year. Yes, they will probably end up in a bowl game. Absolutely. Yes, Deion has already made history with what he has done. Yes. But that has nothing to do with those young men. That has nothing to do with those 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-old boys on that field. It has nothing to do with them feeling like they are being held to a standard greater than all of the other Division I football players, and yet they don't have the talent to substantiate the expectations of Deion Sanders' grandiose history as a player and his possible grandiose ego. Coach Prime, when you do these interviews, my brother, and I think Deion does a good job with the interviews. He's not emotional. He always thanks his coaches and his team. But Deion, you got to be careful when you start saying things like, I want children who can embrace the moment. I want children who can live up to the moment. When I heard Coach Prime's post-game interview last night, when I heard Coach Prime's post-game interview last night, if I was a parent listening to the post-game interview, if I was a parent listening to the post-game interview, I would have been offended by some of the comments I think Deion inadvertently made. He didn't try to insult his players. He didn't try to demean his players, and he did come back and clean it up later. But if I'm a parent of a child playing on that team who's not getting any attention but playing a significant role on that field, and I hear the coach say we ain't ready for the moment, and they shouldn't be here if they ain't ready for the moment, and I'm looking for players who ready for the moment, I understood where he was coming from. But some of his comments, not just those, some of his comments could have been taken as a bit insensitive for a group of boys who just lost a close game. Deion does have to make it less about him and more about his players. We know what a great NFL superstar he was, historic superstar. But every interview does not have to be about how often he won in college. Every interview doesn't have to be about how great he was as a player. Every interview doesn't have to be about, I'm not used to losing like this. He just got to be a little careful and stop bringing it back to him, because I don't want them boys to get together and decide we ain't playing no more. We just going to go through the motions. Because what I saw last night, I saw a team that quit. Yes, they got beat on runs. Yes, they didn't run routes. Yes, there was missed assignments, but y'all got to look beyond the play. Beyond the play, I saw a team that quit. And because I saw a team that quit, I have to ask the question whether or not they are getting exhausted. That's all I'm saying. I was sent an article about Jackson State, HBCU Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. Shout out to Jackson State, all the students, faculty, staff. Shout out to all HBCUs across the country. Someone sent me an article pertaining to the fact that Jackson State has a Mexican female kicker. A Mexican female kicker. I believe this is the first time ever an HBCU has had a female kicker. It might be the first time any Division I football team has had a female kicker. I don't have a problem with the female kicker, and I don't really have a problem with the overall situation. As you know, HBCUs that are state-owned, they cannot practice race-first politics. They have to be multicultural by design, okay? But I want Jackson State University to be careful, and I want all HBCUs to be careful, because as I've said before, because America is gentrifying black people, this Mexican kicker, this female Mexican kicker, this young lady at Jackson State who's playing on the football team, this could be a strategy for cultural colonization by the migrants. I want HBCUs to be careful. This female Mexican kicker at Jackson State, much respect to the Mexican people, no disrespect to your nation, but I see this as a potential avenue that can be exploited by the American white power structure and the migrant agenda to gentrify the HBCU campus with migrants and other Latinos. Please be careful. Beware of Greeks bearing gifts. Because if you have all these migrants coming into America, all these South American Latinos coming into America, they're going to want to ultimately get into college and things like that. The PWIs is only going to take but so many of them. The PWIs are only going to take but so many of them, so they're going to have to redirect them to the HBCU. And let's remember what Joe Biden did. It's all starting to make sense now. Let's remember what your democratically elected president, Joe Biden, did after he took office the first year. Joe Biden changed the White House initiative on HBCUs. Remember this? We talked about this. I did a live on this. Do y'all remember? About 2 years ago, President Joe Biden changed the name of the White House initiative on the HBCU. He changed it to the White House initiative on minority serving institutions and universities. Minority serving institutions and universities. Minority serving institutions and universities. So what I think is going on, let me tell you what I think is going on. The reason Joe Biden changed the name from the White House initiative on the HBCU to the White House initiative on minority serving institutions and colleges, they're going to target the HBCU. And they're going to offer the HBCUs millions of dollars to let the migrants into the university. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. Listen to me. What are the HBCUs going to do when Joe Biden offers them millions of dollars to allow large numbers of migrants to attend the HBCUs? You and I both know that these greedy HBCU presidents, not all but many of these greedy HBCU presidents are going to look at the money. They're going to look at the money and they're going to take the money and they're going to let the migrants gentrify the HBCUs. Trust me, it's coming. Trust me, it is coming. And in case you don't know, they already have Afghan refugees. They already have Afghan refugees and Ukrainian refugees living at some HBCU campuses. So if they already got the Afghanis and the Ukrainians at the HBCU campus, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to bring the migrants on in. I promise you, these HBCUs with low enrollment, these HBCU campuses with low enrollment, these HBCU campuses with low enrollment, they're going to be the new university home, and they're going to be the new shelter in place for anti-black South American migrants who are being brought to America to gentrify the black community, to eliminate the black community. So that's the one thing. That's the one thing. Coppin State entire baseball team is 100% white and Latino. I did not know that. I don't know if that's true. Maybe somebody from Coppin State can verify. Maybe someone from Coppin State can verify. Maybe someone from Coppin State can verify whether or not the baseball team has been thoroughly gentrified. Has the baseball team at Cotton State been thoroughly gentrified? Has the baseball team at Coppin State been thoroughly gentrified with anti-black Latinos and Caucasians? So we need an HBCU watch. You know how you have a Black Town watch? We need an HBCU watch. This is what I want. If you are an HBCU student, listen to me, HBCU Africans. Listen to me, HBCU Africans. Listen to me. If you are an HBCU student, professor, parent, or staff member, if you are an HBCU student, parent, professor, or staff member, I'm putting together a black FBI to spy on the HBCUs. I'm putting together a black FBI to spy on the HBCUs to make sure they are not being overtaken by anti-black agendas. If you want to be my contact person on your campus, this will be strictly confidential. This will be strictly confidential. This will be strictly confidential. If you want to be my contact person at your HBCU, whether you are a parent, a student, a staff, or faculty, please send me a text message and say, Dr. Umar, my name is such and such. I am your contact person at such and such HBCU college, such and such HBCU university, and I will be sending you updates. I will be texting you updates. I will be sending you articles, screenshots, emails to students, and other things to keep you posted on what's happening. We got to have HBCU watch. We got to have HBCU watch. We got to have HBCU watch. You can text me if you want to be my contact person, and I'm depending on you to send me information about what's being done on your campus, whether it's a rainbow agenda, transformer agenda, immigrant agenda, migrant agenda, defund agenda, shutdown agenda, whatever's going on, sex trafficking agenda, poor facilities agenda, too many white professors agenda, whatever's going on. Shoot me a text, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. I have nothing against the young Mexican lady. She wants to be a football kicker. I hope she live her dream. She might end up in the NFL. Kudos to her. I have nothing against that young Mexican-American young lady. But I'm saying that this is how they infiltrate. It always starts with one person.